So hello everyone, this is Tushar Pingde. I'm a business analyst in Kylas. Today's topic is all about the Webhooks on a lead entity. So first of all, we will see what is the Webhook, what are the entities available in Webhook integration, and the events that are available in the Webhook. Okay, so let me share my screen again. You can see there are two types of integrations, the polling and the webhook. Polling is nothing but the API, that is application programming interface, which enables two-way communication between software applications and driven by requests. So let's say your server ask request the application if there is any data. If it's a no, it will pass empty. Okay. Again, after a certain period of time, it will again ask the application if is there in data. If it's yes, then it will pass the available data on the application. Okay. The another thing is that Webhook. The Webhook is a lightweight API that powers one-way data sharing triggered by events. So let's say you configure your Webhook URL into this application, and whenever there will be any event happening in the applications like creation of record, deletion or updation of records, or so on the basis of that event, it will pass the data to your server. Okay, so together they enable applications to share data and functionality and turn the web into something greater than the sum of its part, right? uh, and a webhook can be thought of as a type of API that is driven by events rather than requests. Instead of one application making request to another to receive response, Webhook service that allows one program to send data to another as soon as a particular event takes place. Okay, so if we see an example, we can consider the example of the SMS notification. Say your bank sent you a SMS when you make a new purchase. You already told the bank that what is your phone number, so they knew where to send the data, right? Same case, you configure your Webhook URL from the UI or from the backend with the application, and whenever there is any event happening in the on the application, it will send the data on your Webhook URL, same like your phone number. So let's take a look what are the events available in the Kylas in order to configure the Webhook. First of all, to do your Webhook integration, you need to log in into the system. Once you log in, you will see a dashboard over here. In order to configure your Webhook URL, just go to KylasCRM, and in the integration module, you will see a Webhooks. Just go to Webhooks and you will see all the Webhooks URL that are configured with the system. And you can use the different URLs to send or push the data of Kylas to different portals. Okay, so let's take a look one by one. What are the entities available in the webhook? First of all, go to add new webhook. Here, add new webhook file will be open. You first have to enter the event name. Let's say lead. Okay, then it will ask you to paste your webhook URL. So I'm test for the testing purpose. I'm using one dummy URL. So I'm copying this webhook URL and pasting over here. I have pasted. You can set authentication if you want, like API key or bearer token on the basis of authentication. Then you can see there is a lead entity is available till now on the Kylas. Subsequently, we are developing for the deal contact companies and all the entities that are available in the Kylas, and it will be introduced in subsequent versions of the Kylas. Okay, so and here you can see the events for which you can trigger this webhook and push the data to your portal. If I toggle this on, let's say it is for lead created. Okay, and I'm saving this. I'm deleting these old records. Okay, so this is the active webhook URL for now. You can see on the listing page the name of the webhook, the URL of the webhook, for which event you have configured this URL, the status of webhook, for how many times it has been triggered, when it was last triggered, who has created this. So let's take a live example. Let's say I'm creating an entity. I'm saving this. You can see the lead has been created. If I go to webhook listing page, the trigger count is 1. If I refresh this, you can see trigger count has been increased, and the creation event that has happened in the Kylas, you will see same in the application that you have configured via this webhook URL. So if I go to webhook, dummy webhook application, you can see this is the request that I have received from the Kylas. Okay, and you can see the record name, the first name, last name, who has been created, the phone number and everything. So we push all the data available in the Kylas. It's up to you what data you want to capture and what you want to ignore it. Okay, let's take a look for update as well. I'm editing the same webhook. I'm just turning on this toggle that is updated at. Once I save this, let's update the same lead that was being generated a few minutes back. Okay, I'm just attaching a pipeline, nothing else. Saving this. In the internal section, you can see the created at. So it was created at 6:5 and it was updated at 6:6. If you go to listing page and check, the trigger count has 2, been 2. If I go to again my application, you will receive a second request for updation of the record. And in the updation, if I check old, this is your old request at the time of creation of the records, and you can see the updated request over here above the old request, where you can track what was happening with the updation process. Okay, let's take a look for delete event as well. So I'm editing the same record, same webhook. I'm just turning on this and saving the same web. I go to Kylas and I'm deleting this record. Delete it. Again go to webhook. You can see the trigger count is 3, and in the application that I was using, you can see this is the request came from the Kylas to delete this record from your application, and you can see the event name, that is lead deleted. So this is how you can push the data from the Kylas as per the events that are happening in the Kylas to your application. In this way, you can integrate all the applications with the Kylas. Because what happens, many applications are there which allows you to configure your URL from the UI itself. Otherwise, you need to give your webhook URL to their backend team, and they will configure this URL for you. Okay, for with the Kylas, you can configure your webhook URL from UI itself, cause we are not restricting you to get this data in out of the Kylas, cause it's your data and we respect for that. The second thing is that about the webhook history. If you go to webhook history, let's say, you will see all the records history that was pushed from the Kylas to your application. Okay, so on this listing page, you will see all the records pushed from the Kylas. You can see the lead records on the event. The event was a lead created, which entity it was, the status, and when it was triggered. Same for the lead update event and delete event as well. If you go to JSON payload to view, you can see what request has been made from the Kylas in order to pass the data. Okay, and at the end you can see the response as well. So let's say in the status you are getting a field. If you go to view and check the response, you will see a bad request 400. So this way you can check if you are getting records on the time from Kylas to your application or not, or where you getting the error, and that way you can change your mapping of the request on your end. Because what happened, we send the data in JSON format, let's say, but your application might be accepting the data in the PHP or Java format or Python format. So in order to get this data into your application, you will need to write a code for an application in order to convert this JSON format into your PHP format. And then it will be possible to push the data successfully to your portal or application. This is the only effort that you need to take place. Otherwise, everything is sorted with the Kylas. Just configure your URL, get your data on application or whatever software that you want to integrate with Kylas. So this was all about the webhook and the configuration and integration of the web via webhook. Any questions? Okay, then this was all about from my side today. Thank you for attending this webinar. We will meet at the next webinar on the same day, that is Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you very much.